Hey guys, SunsFan here. GameLeap is an amazing tool that you can use to learn directly from really high MMR players like Attacker and Yapzor. The guide you're about to watch is one of hundreds that they have on their website, GameLeap.com. So be sure to check them out if you want to improve at Dota. Hope you guys enjoy.
You're not going anywhere.
My death foretold.
Bullseye.
Hi, this is Evil. I'm a 6.5k North American support player and captain of Team Freedom. Today I want to talk about the laning phase, and more specifically I want to talk about warding in the laning phase in 7.0. If you're a support player, you have the most influence out of your team in the first 10 minutes of any Dota game, and a lot of that is warding correctly. You start the game with 2 observer wards. One of those you'll generally want to pass off to your offlaner, and you have to make a decision to place one in either the river, middle lane, or safe lane. I'm going to talk about how to decide where to place each ward in the early game. Every 2.5 minutes you get a new ward, which is 1:30, 4 minutes, 6:30, and 9 minutes. I want to talk about how to use those as well. First, I'll break down the lanes by side and by lane: Radiant, Dire, safe lane, off lane, and middle lane. And then I'll give some general tips on warding afterwards.
In most Dota games, public or competitive, you'll see a ward in the safe lane. The best spot for the Radiant safe lane is here. This ward provides excellent vision of the lane, provides vision of the pole area, and of the tree flank. Be careful not to place it too close to this tree, as it can block some of the vision on the left. You should ask yourself, however, before you place a lane ward, whether or not you actually need a ward in your safe lane. If you're running a tri lane, at any given time you're going to have a zoner, you're going to have a puller, and you're going to have a farmer. And the vision that those 3 heroes provide is going to overlap with the vision that your ward provides, making it a wasted ward. If you're running a dual lane, however, your support is often going to have to leave to gather runes, to place wards, to gank, or to pull, and at those times you're going to need this ward to scout oncoming rotations, to know what the offlaner's up to, and to protect your carry. If you do decide that you need a ward in the tri lane, I recommend a ward further out to the left. Here, this ward provides vision of the bounty rune, provides vision of the river rune, and provides vision of oncoming rotations here and here, protecting your safe lane from any non-smoke gank rotation. Warding while supporting the offlane is much more difficult than warding your safe lane. Generally, you pass the ward off to your offlaner and let him figure it out. However, it's important to know why he does the things to the ward, both so that you can do it yourself when you need to, and so that you can deward an offlaner when you need to. The information an offlaner cares about is information about the pulse, information about supports, and information about this bounty rune. The ward that does all of those things is this ward here. However, that makes this ward the most obvious, as it gets all of the information. If you're confident you won't be dewarded, go ahead and place this ward. However, you generally have to make a choice of which of these things you care about. If you care about only the pulse, recommend something very safe, such as this ward here or way up here. However, if you want to see just support rotations, I recommend something far to the left over here. Anything in this area is good. Oftentimes when you go toward your offlane, you'll get here and you'll walk into a support. At that time, it's good to fall back and find a new spot to ward. There are 2 spots that I like for doing this, one of them being this, which sees the pull, it sees river rotations, and it protects your offlaner's jungle here. Or alternatively, I like this spot. The problem with this spot is it's a little bit tricky to get down without being seen. However, if you know where the enemy supports are and that they don't see you, it's very useful for your lane, as it sees the bounty rune, it sees some of the offlane area, and it can see some of the pull. Both of these wards are weaker for your lane than any ward in this area that sees pulls or support rotations. However, when you're seen, you take what you can get. Warding in the Dire safe lane has the same considerations as warding in the Radiant safe lane. This ward is a great option, as you can place it from cover, provides vision of the lane, provides vision of the flank, and information on your pull. If you have access to this area pre-game, however, the more powerful option is this ward here, as it gives even more information on the tower, gives information when they're rotating for bounty runes, secret shop at shrine, and it gives just as much information on the lane, and it sees the pull. But only place that if you know you're not seen, as it's very commonly dewarded. If you're running a tri lane and you don't think you need a ward in the lane itself, this is a great option. It sees the bounty rune, it sees when they're entering the river or leaving their secret shop, and if you cut this tree, you can see some information on the pull too. As with Radiant, warding in the Dire offlane is trickier than warding in the Dire safe lane,
and you're generally better off giving it to your offlaner. Sometimes though, you gotta do it yourself. And this is the general most powerful ward for a dire offlaner. As you can see, it sees the area here, keeping you safe, and it sees both pulls and sometimes catches them rotating for the bounty run. However, you can't always get a ward like that, and you're going to be dewarded if you're seen. If you need to cover yourself from ganks, this ward is pretty good as it sees the hard camp and protects you and is not often dewarded. If you only care about the pull, then you'll want to place it somewhere over here, or even more to the left if you need. These trees are generally a nuisance and prevent better wards from being placed. However, if you feel you can cut these trees without being suspicious, you can place a pretty powerful ward here, and it will see everything that you could need to see. As you can see, however, this is very obvious unless you have a timber saw or something, but you see just about everything. If you're caught in the act, you're going to have to come up with some way to get a ward somewhere else, as they won't let you have a ward in the lane. And the same ward that's good in the Radiant safe lane is good in the Dire off lane, as it sees the bounty runes, the river runes, and some pull area information. A ward that I like, when they don't allow me to access their safe lane area, is this ward here. You get information that protects your pull, your shrine, your secret shop, some bounty rune information, and you'll see whenever they enter the river. The middle lane is the most heavily contested ward location of the first 10 minutes of any Dota game. It's important to understand what a middle laner needs out of a lane ward mid. As a bare minimum, a middle laner needs 200 to 300 range in the enemy hill to lane properly. The most optimal ward would obviously be a smack dab on the center of their hill. However, a ward like this is not going to survive because you're going to be seen placing it. The most important thing about a lane ward mid is that it does not die. Great wards for this would be a ward like this. You can place it from the tree line and it sees the enemy hill. It also sees the rune, which is a nice benefit. There are 4 spots like this on the Radiant side, giving it a bit of an advantage over Dire. Another spot I like is coming from their jungle, which you can easily access when you're winning. As you see, you can place it from the hill. It has great vision of the enemy hill and does not die easily when you place it unseen. Another great example is coming from bottom river. You can place this ward. It sees most of their hill and it will not die because you place it from trees. There's another ward here, which is great for Dire as well, that you can place from the ancients and will see the whole hill. The Dire has a little bit of an advantage when it comes to this ward. As you can see, it sees a lot more of the Radiant hill than the Dire. And also Dire has a bit of an advantage when it comes to this ward, which Radiant has no natural vision of as well, so they can see very deep onto the Radiant hill. Another personal favorite ward of mine from Radiant is TP filling their bottle here, coming into these trees, placing this ward. As it sees a very large portion of the Dire hill, is very safe to place and you won't be seen placing it. Now that we've broken down the ward locations of each side and lane, I want to help you make the decision of which lane to ward and win. The first ward of the game should always go to the offlaner, and now you have the decision of safe lane or mid. Generally, I give my ward to my safe laner. However, if I think there's going to be very early roams and a lot of pressure on my mid, for example Pudge or Spirit Breaker, I'll give him the ward instead. A new ward spawns at 130 and you want to supplement the non-warded lane with that ward. The 2 important timing windows of the laning phase for warding are the 4-minute mark and the first objective push. The 4-minute mark is nighttime, and that's when a lot of roamers come online and when your cores feel the least safe due to a lack of vision and the enemies can get on top of them more easily. You almost always have 2 farmers, sometimes 3. You want to make sure that the 2 greediest farmers on your team's lanes are protected with a ward until the nighttime is over at least and the game gets more active.
I'll take that.
Anticipating the first objective push can be a bit tricky. Sometimes it happens with a 330 ballista, sometimes at 6, and sometimes it's completely random. But generally one team goes for one objective in the early game. And if you can anticipate when and where that is, supplementing your defense or push with a ward can be very useful and can be very game winning. If you also want to learn tricks on how to ward in the mid and late game, make sure to check out GameLeap.com. I'm making guides there regularly along with other top professional players. Let's learn the secrets of Dota and gain easy MMR together on GameLeap.